She thought it was just another day, returning rifles to the rack. But when the captain's eyes froze on her badge, the codename Crosswind, Mia Watson's world collapsed. Was she a hero? Or the traitor they had been hunting all along? The training hall smelled of oil and dust. Mia Watson moved quietly between the racks, returning each rifle with care. The metal felt cold through her gloves. She counted under her breath, like a ritual. 12 rifles, one after another, aligned in perfect order. Her broken watch dangled from her wrist. The glass cracked months ago during a field exercise. She never repaired it. The frozen hands reminded her of time that had stopped, of choices that had cost her more than she could explain. The hall was almost empty when Captain Hayes walked in. He never spoke much. A man of measured steps and steady eyes. He carried himself like the air itself bent for him. Mia kept her head down, sliding the final rifle into its slot. Then she felt his gaze, heavy, searching. "Watson," he said. His tone cut through the silence. She looked up. His eyes weren't on her. They were fixed on her chest, where her badge caught the dim light. A simple black patch stitched into her uniform. Codename, Crosswind. The words seemed to echo against the walls. His jaw tightened. Mia froze. She had chosen that codename months ago, during final evaluation. To her, it meant unseen forces. The kind that shifted flight paths, altering fates. But she never thought anyone would give it a second look. The captain stepped closer. His boots echoed like a ticking clock. "Where did you get that name?" he asked. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Her throat locked. She remembered her empty wallet, tucked away in her locker. A reminder of debts, of things left unpaid, not just money, but promises. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Fear. 3 nights ago, whispers moved through the barracks. Intelligence intercepts. Enemy chatter. A mole in the ranks. A codename repeated like a curse. Crosswind. Now here she was, standing in front of him with that very name stitched onto her chest. The air thickened. His hand hovered near his sidearm. Mia's pulse hammered. She knew in that instant that her life was about to fracture. Whatever she said, whatever she did next, would decide everything, and before she could answer, the alarms screamed. The siren wailed through the compound. Red lights flared across the ceiling, turning the hall into a crimson blur. Captain Hayes motioned her aside. His grip on her shoulder was firm, too firm. "Stay where I can see you." Mia wanted to ask what was happening, but questions felt dangerous now. Soldiers rushed past, boots thundering, weapons raised. Someone shouted about a breach on the perimeter. Hayes didn't move. His eyes never left her badge. The broken watch on her wrist trembled as her hand shook. She thought of her brother, Daniel. The day he shipped off, he had given her that watch. "For luck," he had said. Weeks later, he was gone, lost in a convoy attack overseas. The watch was all she had left, and now it was shaken because of her. "Crosswind," Hayes muttered, almost to himself. His voice was softer now, but colder. She swallowed. "Sir, it's just a name I chose." He cut her off. "Not anymore." 2 military police appeared, called over by Hayes' sharp gesture. "Escort her to holding," he ordered. Mia felt the room tilt. Her knees locked, refusing to bend. "Sir, I didn't." "Not a word," Hayes snapped. They pulled her away, past soldiers who slowed their steps to stare. Her boots scraped against the dusty floor. Each stare pierced her skin. In the holding room, the walls were white, too clean. A single table sat in the middle. A chair waited. They left her there, shackles cold on her wrists. Hours passed. She counted cracks in the ceiling. Each tick of the clock mocked the still hands of her broken watch. Finally, Hayes entered. He set a folder on the table. His eyes were hard, but underneath she caught something else. Dashed out. He flipped the folder open. Grainy intercepts. Lines of code. One word, repeating like a brand. Crosswind. This is you, Hayes said. Or someone wants us to think it is. Mia leaned forward. It isn't me. Sir, you know that. Hayes didn't answer. He pushed a photo across the table. Surveillance. A blurred figure on a dusty road, carrying a satchel. The caption, codename Crosswind. The road stretched into shadow. It could have been anyone. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, but all she managed was a whisper. Then find them, before it's too late. Hayes stared at her for a long moment, then closed the folder with a snap. You'll get your chance, he said, but one wrong step. He left the words hanging. Mia sat in silence. Somewhere beyond the walls, the alarm still echoed, and she knew the storm had only begun. The night pressed heavy against the compound. Searchlights cut through the darkness, sweeping across fences and watchtowers. Mia sat on the cot in the holding cell, her hands clasped tight, the broken watch cold against her skin. Every tick that wasn't there haunted her. The door opened. Captain Hayes entered again, but this time he wasn't alone. Another man followed, tall, broad, with eyes like steel. His uniform carried no name tag, only the insignia of Intelligence Command. Agent Voss, Hayes said curtly. He's here to evaluate you. Voss studied her in silence. He didn't sit. Instead, he circled, slow, like a predator gauging prey. Codename Crosswind, he said at last. That's what you call yourself? Mia held his gaze. Yes, but it's not what you think. Voss smirked. It never is. He dropped a small recorder onto the table, pressed play. Static filled the room, then a voice crackled through. Distorted, but clear enough. Crosswind. Package delivered. More to come. The words struck like a blade. That isn't me, Mia said firmly. You know my voice doesn't sound like that. Voices can be altered, Voss replied. But locations, those are harder to fake. He laid out a map. Red pins stabbed into cities, training grounds, bases. Each intercept traces near where you've been deployed. Mia's heart thudded. The empty wallet in her locker flashed in her mind. She had carried it from place to place. Proof of a life stripped bare, of losses piling high. Was someone following her shadow, using her trail as cover? Hayes crossed his arms, watching silently. Mia leaned over the map. Something clicked. These dates look closer. I wasn't even there for one of them. I was in Nevada that week. Training exercise. Hundreds can confirm it. Voss's smirk faded slightly. He glanced at Hayes. Hayes nodded slowly. She's right. The Nevada log is solid. Voss's expression hardened again. Coincidence? Or someone covering for her? Before Mia could reply, the compound lights flickered. An explosion thundered in the distance. Dust rained from the ceiling. The sirens wailed again, louder, sharper. Hayes snapped to attention. Perimeter breach. He grabbed the radio. Shouts crackled through. Gunfire. Movement on the east fence. Voss turned to Mia. Looks like your friends are here. Mia surged to her feet, chains rattling. I told you I'm not one of them. But Voss only stared, the cold smile returning. We'll see. The door slammed open. A soldier shouted, Captain, the intruders are asking for Crosswind. The room froze. Mia's stomach dropped. Hayes looked at her, torn between duty and doubt, and Voss's eyes glowed with something darker than suspicion. The compound roared with chaos. Gunfire snapped through the night. The air trembled with distant blasts. Hayes barked orders into his radio, trying to steady the lines. Voss stood by the door, unmoving, as if waiting for proof. Proof that Mia belonged to the shadows outside. The soldier repeated, They're asking for Crosswind, sir, over the loudspeakers. His voice cracked with fear. Mia's blood ran cold. Whoever they were, they wanted her name, not Hayes, not Voss. Hayes turned sharply. Watson, What aren't you telling me? I don't know them. Her voice broke. I swear it. But doubt painted his face. The broken watch caught the light as her hands shook. Time, stuck forever on that moment of loss, mocked her again. Another explosion rattled the walls. Hayes cursed, unholstered his sidearm, and moved toward the door. I need to see this for myself. Voss stepped into his path. No, we let them talk. See what they reveal. Mia sat back down, her chains cutting into her skin. Her throat felt dry as ash. Through the walls, a loudspeaker crackled. A distorted voice boomed across the night. Crosswind, we know you're inside. Come out, and no one else gets hurt. The words pierced the silence of the room. Hayes's jaw clenched. He glanced at Mia again, then back at Voss. They'll kill more until they get what they want, Voss said. We hand her over. Save the rest. Mia felt her heart stop. You can't. I'm not there, Crosswind. But in her chest, a new terror bloomed. If they wanted her, if they knew her code name, then someone out there had built this trap with precision. Hayes's radio crackled again. We're losing the east fence, sir. Need orders. Hayes hesitated. His eyes flicked once more to Mia. She saw conflict burning there. Then, without warning, Voss drew his pistol and pointed it straight at her. Hayes barked. Stand down. She's the answer, Voss snapped. Hand her over, or this base burns. The pistol stayed aimed. The sirens wailed louder, and for Mia, the walls of the room seemed to close in. They moved her under heavy guard. Shackles still bound her wrists, but now rifles flanked her on both sides. Hayes walked ahead, tense, jaw tight. Voss followed close behind, his pistol never far from her back. The night outside bit cold against her skin. Smoke curled in the distance. The compound's outer wall glowed with flames. Searchlights swung wildly, hunting shapes in the dark. Through it all, the voice boomed again. Crosswind, walk the road. Alone. A single dusty road stretched beyond the gates. Lit faintly by moonlight, it cut into the desert like a scar. The invaders waited at the far end, shadows flickering around trucks and weapons. Hayes stopped at the gate. His face was pale, but his eyes locked on Mia. If you're innocent, this ends you, he said quietly. If you're guilty, then you get what you asked for. Mia's chest heaved. She wanted to scream, to beg him to believe her. But words seemed useless now. The empty wallet weighed in her pocket, a reminder of debts that never truly vanished. The guard shoved her forward. The gate groaned open. Dust swirled around her boots as she stepped onto the road. Each grain felt heavy, like judgment. Behind her, the gate clanged shut. Ahead, the figures waited, her broken watch pressed cold against her wrist. She glanced at it once, the frozen hands marking Daniel's last hour, and in that moment, she swore she would not break. Halfway down the road, the figures stirred. One stepped forward, hooded, voice distorted but clearer now. Crosswind, you took too long. Mia froze, her throat locked. The figure lifted a hand, and soldiers at the far end raised their rifles. The moonlight glinted on barrels. A single command echoed. Fire, asterisk, the world exploded in thunder. Gunfire ripped the silence. Mia dropped to the dirt, chains rattling, dust stinging her eyes. She braced for the pain, 4 bullets tearing through, but none struck. The gunfire wasn't aimed at her. It screamed past, ripping toward the compound behind. She twisted, stunned, watching as the invaders fired over her head. She wasn't the target. She was the bait. Hayes men on the wall shouted, returning fire. The night became chaos tracers, slicing red across the sky. Explosions rolling through the sand. Through the haze, Mia saw the hooded figure step closer. He pulled back the hood, a face she knew. Marcus Webb, once a fellow trainee. A man who had laughed with them at the mess hall, traded stories, taught her field tricks. "Mia," he said, voice clear now, "you weren't supposed to be here. But since you are," he smiled cold, "let them think you're Crosswind. It keeps me safe." Her stomach dropped. It wasn't her name they wanted. It was her ruin. The soldiers around him pressed forward. Hayes shouted from the wall, ordering, covering fire. Bullets whipped the road to dust. Webb knelt down beside her, calm amidst chaos. "You carry the blame. I walk free. That's how this works." Mia's chest burned with fury. She thought of her broken watch, Daniel's memory, frozen in silence, of the empty wallet that carried every scar of loss, of the dusty road beneath her knees. Her voice was low but steady. "No, not anymore." She twisted, chains cutting her wrists raw, and lunged. Dust blinded her, but her shoulder struck his chest. The pistol clattered from his hand. Shouts erupted. Gunfire roared. Hayes' men surged forward through the smoke. Webb's followers scattered, retreating into the dark. Strong arms pulled Mia back. Hayes himself, his grip iron, his face pale with shock. "It was him," she gasped. "Webb, he's Crosswind." Hayes's eyes burned with both fury and relief. He barked into his radio, "Target confirmed. Webb is Crosswind." The chase thundered into the desert. Webb vanished into shadow, but his mask was torn away. Mia stood, wrists bleeding, chest heaving. Around her, the night still burned, but in her heart, a strange calm spread. She was no traitor, no shadow, no ghost. The codename sewn on her badge was hers again, not a weapon, not a curse, a symbol of wind done, predictable, but free. The battle raged on, but Mia Watson no longer bent under suspicion, and as dawn's first light broke across the dusty road, she knew her fight had only just begun. The sun had barely risen when the desert turned into a battlefield. Dust clouds rolled with the retreating trucks. Webb's men vanished into the horizon, leaving trails of smoke and broken shell casings. Mia leaned against the outer wall, wrists raw from chains, lungs burning. Captain Hayes shouted orders, pushing units into vehicles. "Target is Marcus Webb, codename Crosswind. Alive, if possible." His eyes found her. For the first time, there was no suspicion in them, only urgency. "Watson, you're coming with me." She wanted to collapse, but something inside refused. The broken watch on her wrist caught the sunlight. Daniel's frozen time stared back, reminding her why she had joined, why she endured. Minutes later, she was in the back of a military jeep, the desert whipping by. Hayes drove, jaw tight, while another soldier scanned the horizon with binoculars. The dusty road stretched ahead, endless and cruel. It reminded Mia of her first deployment, empty landscapes, where danger hid in silence. Over the radio, static cracked with reports. Enemy convoys sighted, heading northwest. Vehicles splitting up. Possible decoy. Hayes cursed under his breath. "He knows our playbook. He'll try to vanish in the dunes." Mia leaned forward. "Webb used me as cover. He'll do it again. If you chase the wrong convoy, you'll lose him." Hayes shot her a glance. "Then where does he go?" She closed her eyes, remembering Webb's habits. He hated unpredictability in himself, even if he used it against others. During training, he always found high ground, vantage points, places where the wind carried sound. Her eyes opened. The cliffs, east side of the canyon. That's where he'll set up. Hayes didn't question her. He yanked the wheel. The jeep roared toward the canyon, engines screaming. When they reached the cliffs, the desert fell silent. Too silent. Mia stepped out, boots sinking in sand. Her empty wallet sat heavy in her pocket. She pulled it out, stared at the worn leather, and thought, "I'm not running from debts anymore." A shot rang out. The rock near her shoulder shattered. "Down," Hayes shouted, pulling her behind cover. From the ridge above, A voice called, web.com/mocking. You should have stayed my shadow, Mia. Now you'll be my proof. The next shot echoed. Dust blinded her eyes. Hayes lifted his rifle, scanning for the target. But Webb was already moving. Always one step ahead. Mia gritted her teeth. The watch ticked in her memory. The dusty road stretched in her lungs. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about reclaiming her name. She whispered to Hayes, steady as stone, I'm going up there. Hayes's eyes widened. You'll never make it. But she was already moving. Crawling into the dust and climbing toward the ridge. Above her, Webb's shadow waited. The climb tore at her hands. Rocks cut her palms, blood mingling with dust. Every pull upward felt heavier than the last. But the ridge called her. Webb's voice echoed, taunting, carried by the wind. Do you feel it, Mia? That weight. That's what Crosswind is. It crushes those who can't bend. She ignored him, forcing herself higher. The broken watch tapped against the rock with every reach, metal scraping stone, time frozen, but her pulse alive. At the top, she rolled into the dirt, gasping. Webb stood only yards away, rifle slung casually, as if he had all the time in the world. His eyes burned with something twisted anger. Yes, but also relief. You were the perfect shield, he said. They wanted Crosswind. I gave them you. And you played the role beautifully. Mia pushed herself up, chest heaving. Not anymore. You'll answer for this. He laughed, bitter and sharp. Answer. No. I write the answers. He lifted his rifle, barrel aimed at her chest. And your chapter ends here. The dusty road stretched below, silent witnesses to the standoff. Hayes shouted from below, too far to help in time. Mia's eyes flicked to Webb's weapon. His stance was arrogant, loose. He thought she was already broken. Her empty wallet slipped from her pocket as she steadied her breath. It hit the dirt between them. Webb's gaze flicked down, just for an instant. That was all she needed. She lunged, grabbing the broken watch from her wrist and hurling it at his face. The cracked glass caught the sun, a flash of light. Webb flinched bad. Mia slammed into him. The rifle spun from his grip, tumbling across the ridge. Both crashed into the dust, fists and fury. He struck her hard, but she clung to his sleeve, forcing his arm down. His breath reeked of smoke and betrayal. You'll never clear your name, he hissed. Her voice broke through the struggle, low and fierce. I already have. With a final surge, she twisted, throwing him off balance. Webb tumbled toward the edge. His fingers clawed at the dirt, boots kicking. For one moment, their eyes locked, fear in his, resolve in hers. Then his grip slipped. He fell. The canyon swallowed his scream. Silence returned. Only the wind remained, whispering through the rocks. Mia staggered to her feet, bloodied, shaking. The broken watch was gone. The wallet lay empty in the dirt. Hayes scrambled up the ridge, eyes wide. Watson, are you? She raised a hand. I'm fine. Her voice trembled, but it carried. The horizon burned with dawn. The code name on her badge still read Crosswind. But now it wasn't suspicion. It wasn't betrayal. It was survival. It was hers. And yet, deep in the canyon's shadows, movement stirred. The battle wasn't over.